Let's go ahead and start the recording. And I'm going to share with you, like, first, let's rewind just a hot second and review what we talked about yesterday. I gave you a couple of key lessons, and I want to start us by grounding in that aspect. The first thing I talked about was our brains and how our brains are wired to do two primary functions that may not necessarily be serving us in the long haul. The first is to keep us safe. We still have a primal brain from our cavewoman days that wants to keep us safe and avoid risk and danger at all costs. This is what has us scanning the horizon and wondering if we could make a fool of ourselves or fall on our face or fail somehow. And it's an internal defense mechanism that keeps us holding back and making sure that everything is okay before we step forward. It's our internal hesitation mechanism. The second thing our brain wants to do is conserve energy. And so it's that part of our brain that wants to follow the easiest path of least resistance, not use too much energy, and not have to really attempt really challenging, hard things like resolving behaviors that are now kind of automatic and unconscious. We don't really want to have to unpack hard or painful things or things that cost a lot of energy. So even if we want to have effective change in our lives, even if we want to bust through and have like new layers, our brains sometimes resist it. And resistance looks like confusion, trying to do something, like trying hard or forcing it, or using discipline, sort of putting ourselves in overwhelm to try to break free of something that is bugging us, and patterning. Sometimes our resistance shows up in us just falling into recurring patterns of behavior with recurring beliefs that are on autopilot, because it's easier for our brain to operate this way than to have to try a whole new paradigm. Does that make sense? There are ways to hack your resistance, and some of them we're going to discuss today. Okay, the second main topic that I talked about was stuckness and the two different ways that we can get stuck. And I think in this community, in this workshop community, we're identifying kind of two different key ways. One is, for you as participants, that you know how you're stuck, you know that you want something different. You actually may feel like you can see what is in your way. Maybe it's a bad boss, a frustrating work situation, feeling like you've topped out. Maybe it's that you're unemployed or underemployed and you know you need to find something that's motivating. So there's one type where you actually know what you want, but can't seem to control the outcome, can't quite seem to hack the solution, and you don't have what you want. It's elusive. And in that way, we feel stuck. Like you're stuck in a rut, you can't break free. The other kind of stuck is when we don't even know exactly what we want. We know we're yearning for something, we sense that there's something more for us, but we feel confused or daunted trying to find it. I think this one is actually potentially more dangerous, more toxic, more frustrating, because we don't like feeling completely at loose ends. So, but either one, regardless of which, I tell you that the solution is confidence. That the solution for both types of stuckness is confidence. It's not changing the circumstances. It's not somehow having things fall into place. It comes from the inside. So that's what we're going to be focusing on a little bit today. What we think the solution is not the solution. So often we think the solution is for us to double down on our effort to break through. Past experiences taught us this, right? Like, let's say we use some sort of socialized framework like school, and maybe you're sort of flailing in a class and you're getting a C. And you want to do better because you know that that's what society wants and our parents want and authority figures want. We want to get an A. And so past experiences taught us if we overperform, if we double down, if we're in doubt about how well we're doing, all we have to do is give more effort. We need to try harder, get organized, figure it out, stay up late, make a list, get busy, hack it out, grind it out, effort it out. Does that resonate for you? You can raise your hand energetically or type in the chat chain. This is how we have learned to get out of stuckness in the past. We think that it involves effort. It has worked for us in the past. It's a product of how you may have gotten to where you are today. It's how you got good grades, how you got a good job, how you advanced in sports, how you leveled up in your achievement. It has the nature of progression is often us having us focused on doing more. So that's another concept that I was raising to us yesterday that I want to unpack more today. And in the process of us doing more and thinking that we need to prepare better or get on top of things or get more organized or get more knowledge, we start to see something that's missing. We start to develop a coping mechanism that leads us down a negative path, the negative self-talk path, the beating ourselves up path, whipping ourselves to perform. This is a byproduct of our achievement culture, right? Where we sort of shame ourselves for not getting the grade or not being further along by now. This is weirdly also a self-defense mechanism. That negative inner critic that you have, the imposter syndrome, is sort of a self-defense mechanism gone haywire. It's our brains trying to keep us safe from being humiliated or failing or looking bad. It's our brains trying to keep us safe from emotional pain by beating ourselves up into, behaviors of performance so that we avoid the pain that we're afraid to feel. Do you see how that works? We don't want to feel the super uncomfortable feelings of failure. So our brain warns us that unless we want to feel that, we better hustle more. We better get it together. We better pull ourselves together. We better figure it out. And in this way, we become our own tormentors. We beat ourselves up. We make these huge lists, and we then torment ourselves with action to try to get us unstuck and make us feel good again. Is this resonating for you? So we have this negative inner critic imposter syndrome going on that's having us layer on overwork to bust loose, that gives us this overwhelm experience to where we end up feeling exhausted, frustrated, still stuck, not clear, and having limited forward motion. This is super challenging. If you find yourself in that kind of experience, sometimes it feels a little hopeless. Sometimes we just feel down in the dumps or even depressed, lacking morale, feeling like we're not sure what to do with ourselves. But I want to just name that, not to accentuate it, but to let you know that it's not actually that uncommon. That's when women end up in my workshops or end up as my clients, is they're now ready to break free from some of those tailspins that they find themselves in, these eddying out, this swirl that they don't know how to bust loose from. Because it can be so much easier. And this is the good news. If you're suffering from all of those things that I just named, it can be so much easier. And this is why I'm really glad to be teaching, because I want you to be able to feel how you can give yourself a break. I'm going to give you some actionable tips for how you can approach getting unstuck. So let's break it into the two types of stuckness. On this side, if you're really busy, if you're very much stuck in a hyper overproductive life, if you have like a high visibility position with a lot of responsibility, you feel overwhelmed, you feel stuck in stress. If you kind of know that you need relief and you know that there's some pattern happening, but you can't break free from it, let's talk about that kind first. When we're in that kind of stuckness, we sometimes think that the solution is to work our way out of it, to actually work harder, faster, and task better so that we can get it right. We have narratives that say, like, if I can just get through this quarter, if I can just get through this month, or if I can just get through this one project proposal, we are confessing that we think that more effort or time or our capability will help us finally pop out of this overwhelm cycle. And that is actually tormenting. It just leads to you layering on more pressure, more comparison. Why can't I get it right? Why is other people, not so stressed? It layers on overwhelm. It triggers more imposter syndrome. And we start to think that the way in which we need to succeed is to over prepare, to double down, read more. I mean, I'm going to give you some really good examples this week, right? This on this training. I have two clients that would definitely identify in this camp. And you know what they do when they feel this level of overwhelm and stress? They go and give themselves research projects. Before they do a task, they open up a whole bunch of tabs on their computer and they start browsing. They start looking for more information. They feel like they need to know more. They suffer from what I call tote bag syndrome, where they are carrying bags, computer bags, messenger bags full of papers or white papers or news bits or things that they think that they need to collect and read to make them more prepared. And that is not the solution. The solution is trusting that everything that they need is already within them. Sure, they can get better. Sure, they can improve, but it's not to like double down on forcing themselves to somehow prove their own mettle, their own worthiness, their own knowledge. The better way is for them to move light and fast, to network, to collaborate, to be inquisitive, and to work with people, and to find the fastest solution without layering on more daunting tasks. So I want to share these in case you see yourself in them, right? Another way that you might try to get unstuck, if you have that responsibility concept, if you feel like you're burdened or you have a lot going on in your life, is that we layer on more responsibility. We feel like our productivity defines us, and how well we show up and how much we get done makes us good. And so the challenge here is that we have really slushy boundaries. We take too much stuff on, and our beliefs about our actions making us worthy have us in an overwhelmed cycle. This is where we feel bad if we're not working as hard as our direct reports are, or we feel like we need to keep working hard to like prove that we deserve the high level position that we have. We focus too much on getting stuff done and task accomplishment rather than being strategic and having big thoughts and long-term thinking. The challenge here is to let go of these beliefs about productivity, making us meritorious, making us worthy. We have this belief system running in the background that's like, I have to be busy, I have to be helping. What would they think of me if I don't? I don't want to look lazy. And so that's another layer of a type of individual that might find themselves stuck in an autopilot sequence where they don't realize they're making their lives harder because they have a belief in place that I am a helper, I have to be busy, I need to be doing something to participate and earn my worth. Okay, the third one I want to share with you about this type of overwhelm, this type of way in which we might assume we can resolve our stuckness, is seeking a win, where we really just want to get a win externally. We want to finally get that client to sign. We want our boss to say, good job. We want to successfully bring the project home. And we're overly focused on getting some external validation. And this makes sense in a way. It's very distorted because like that's how we do get paid well in advance, is when we do perform well. But when it becomes the sole focus and we start to feel like all that matters is that we log a tally mark in the yes column, and we forget our easy natural strengths, when we start beating ourselves up because we need to get that win every day and prove ourselves, then we're headed down the road of exhaustion. So I'm telling lots of client stories, right? I'll change all their names. For this particular client, let's just call her Marie. She was tied up in trying to prove herself and constantly trying to look like she was smart and productive in meetings so that she would get noticed and that she would get a sense of positive affirmation from leadership, even when she didn't like what she was working on or didn't like what she was becoming. So the challenge for this type of distorted problem solving for getting unstuck is that we need to value our own gifts instead and solve a bigger problem than just trying to get a visible win so that people will feel good about us. Okay, I'm throwing a lot of concepts at you. I kind of want to take a pause and see what's coming up for you. And as you're listening, do any of those resonate for you? Next, I'm going to take us on, the other side. I've explained at the beginning that I think there's two kinds of stuck that people in this community in this workshop can identify as. One is like the overburdened, highly visible, highly responsible, stressed out, but not loving their life stuck. And then the other side is not even knowing what would make my life a lovable life, feeling that unclear kind of cloudiness around what it is that we want. And that making us feel stuck, like not sure what we want to be or do, and how we naturally will start to problem solve on that aspect when that's our issue, but how it might not be productive. So let's visit this side now. If you're not sure what you want, often our natural problem solving will take us to overloading ourselves to figuring it out. If we're confused, we think that the solution is we have to somehow effort ourselves towards clarity. This is where we think we need to somehow, look at all of the jobs or figure out what sounds good, or start talking to people about what's available or putting out feelers. And that can almost feel more disconcerting because now we're sort of like stumbling in the dark, not even sure where we're going. When we think we need to figure out our own confusion, really, what we're saying is, I need to figure me out. I need to know myself. What we want to do is know ourselves first, what makes us tick, what our positive operating system is, the way in which we get easy results, what's so natural for us to achieve, where our easy brilliance is, and let it be easy. This is a concept that, I have a lot of clients who think, well, I know what I'm good at, but I can't get paid to do that. And I want to say, like, that's actually the brain kind of stepping in too quickly and offering objections. 10 years ago, there were people out in the world that would say, I love to organize closets and make spaces, open, but no one will pay for that. But now we know people pay for organizers. People pay to have somebody's superpower help them if that's not their superpower and they need that service. So sometimes we include this rationalization too soon when we're just needing to know what is our own easy brilliance. When we figure out our insides first and take steps forward that is aligned with our own easy brilliance and let it be easy, then we're open to possibility. So I'll give you an example of a client in this category. Let's call this woman Sally. Sally worked for 30 years in a position in a very small, relatively small community, and she had a huge reputation for herself as sort of the Jill of all trades in a very specialized job. And she was convinced that there would be no possible way for her to shake loose from the toxic leadership that she had at that job, even though she was so masterful at all of the tasks. So she liked what she did, but she didn't like leadership. That made her feel stuck. And she kept being convinced that in her small network, in her small circumstance, in her small area, there wouldn't be a way for her to express her talents because wasn't a lot of opportunity. It's an amazing story that I don't have time to tell. But instead of telling herself that she needed to figure it out, I had her start to articulate what she was good at and clarify that, and then take steps in the direction of those aspects. And the most amazing thing happened. An absolute twin job of what she holds opened up in the city right next to her that paid more and that completely valued her expertise. It was like a miracle, but in another way, it wasn't, because I know that once we take off the belief that it's impossible, possibility opens up. Really cool story. So I hope that you grabbed that one. I feel like I'm kind of on this really long monologue. Okay, more about what if you don't know what you want. Sometimes the way in which we're stuck is that we worry about what other people think. And so we stay kind of in this one zone of like benchmarking or sussing out or taking the temperature of our partners, our families, our friends. And that in some way keeps us focused on sort of like thinking that we need to figure something out about what is worthwhile doing. And it often has us focused on our own behavior and our beliefs about that. So I'll give you an example in this one. I have another client who wanted to gain more income and started consulting on the side. And she is brilliantly wired. She's multilingual. She can do transcriptions. She can help a large immigrant population with understanding English and helping transpose documents. But she worried so much about looking greedy to provide that service. And so sometimes when we worry too much about how others might think of us, we keep ourselves stuck and small because we're operating with a belief system that tells us that we need to be careful, otherwise we risk rejection. And I helped that client realize that she could just open a business and make offers, and people would come to her knowing what her rates were, and she wouldn't have to worry so much about all of the beliefs that she had in her history about how she should just help people for free because she likes to be helpful. I helped her unweight that helpfulness from not allowing her to command a great living wage. And now she's finding herself like in a totally new paradigm where she might end up owning her own business and dropping her day job. So anyway, there's so much possibility available to us when we start getting unstuck in the most appropriate way, not in the default way that our brains might have us take. Okay, the last one I want to share with you, if you don't know what you want, is fear of failure. That a lot of times what keeps us stuck when we're not sure what we want is we think, well, it would be so great to go for it, but if I blow it, I'll feel absolutely wrecked and horrible. And I don't know if I could take it. And I'm not sure I'm ready. And so maybe I'll just do something smaller or inch towards an outcome, because we're in this all or nothing paradigm. We think that if we make a huge overture, if we really go for something in our lives and we don't make the mark, that we're so afraid of failing that will absolutely refuse to take a small risk. And so the challenge for this particular mindset is to loosen up the outcome as the ultimate result, to see, as I mentioned yesterday, life is a lab. What if I'm just experimenting? What if I'm just curious? What if I give myself a little permission to play, to explore, and to not call it do or die, not have it be high stakes? So I have another client that I'll share in this one. Let's call her um, Mindy. And she desperately wants to downgrade her role because it is so stressful and she does not feel like it is in her wheelhouse. It makes her a really good income, and she has good benefits, but she really feels like the stress is too much for her. And what she's telling herself is, if I downgrade my role, I'll lose my health care and I'll lose all my income. And so her brain is doing this thing of saying, hold the phone, stay safe, keep the status quo. You could be risking life and danger. When in reality, There's so many options available to her. She could go a percent down in time. She can negotiate with her boss to reconfigure her responsibilities. And this is what she's working on. She can turbocharge other skills that really light her up that she can use as a consultant on the side. She's a really good writer, not a technical writer, but like a blogger. She's written some books, and she would love to be paid for her writing. And when she started to just give herself permission to explore a little bit, and I guided her how she might just put some feelers out there to not make it this do or die, fear of failure kind of all or nothing proposition, she found that she can start adjusting the way in which she receives income to allow her to do something that's much more pleasurable and much more in her wheelhouse. Whew, okay, so that was a lot. Are you still with me? Are you still tracking? Give me a high five, give me a hey, give me a chat. Tell me if this resonates for you, because I'm going to move you into now understanding how all of this can be accessible to you if you're grasping what I'm putting down. I'm telling you that my whole philosophy that you can adopt too is that what you already have at your disposal, already own all of your strengths, your gifts, your natural born talents, your easy breezy capacity to do certain things. All of that is more than enough for you to succeed. It's more than enough for you to make an impact, to be paid well, to inspire, to innovate, to create. You actually don't need to go back to school or get another degree or go get a certification or double down on your preparation. All of that stuff can be good, very well and good, but sometimes it's a distraction from us simply starting to blossom where we are. I believe we spend too much time trying to rehabilitate our weaknesses, trying to double down on what we think we need to improve, and start to be different and force things and whip ourselves into successful behaviors that we then end up feeling frustrated, and we labor under these misconceptions about who we think we need to be. And we end up confused, and then we're just trying to problem solve with to-do lists. What we want to do instead is follow our inner wise one, our inner knower, our inner beauty, our inner ability. So I'll give you kind of an image or a metaphor and see if this resonates for you. It's my river analogy. Let's say you want to, what you want to do in your life is you want to make progress like rafting in a river. You want to feel productive. You want to feel motion. You want to feel engaged. You want to be in the river of life. You kind of have two choices. One is you take your boat into the river and you put the nose upstream and you start to paddle really hard. And you think, this is good. I'm putting effort forward. I'm sweating. I'm burning calories. I'm making things happen. But when you look up, you realize you're not getting very far very fast. And when you stop struggling, you lose ground. As opposed to if you let the nose of your boat point downstream and then you spend the same amount of effort with the current, with the flow, you quantum leap yourself down the river because you're moving with the current. This analogy is about how we can move with our strengths when we know what we're good at, what lights us up, what's easy for us, where our zone of brilliance is, and we start rowing with that current, we're unstoppable. We make it harder than we need to because we think that somehow there's more merit in hard work and sweat and grit, and that we would be better if we worked harder. And we have all of that sort of conditioning invisibly operating just beneath the surface. We've been socialized to believe that we need to work hard, effort, strive, prove, double down on figuring it out, and convinced that we need to improve ourselves to gain expertise and to do more. And it's just a trap. This does not mean that you don't want to go to school, you don't want to learn new things, and you don't want to up level your skills, but it means you want to do it with the energy of your spirit, not in defiance and to fight the fact that you don't feel good enough in the first place. They're really different ways of of approaching self-improvement. Okay, so how would you do this? How would you make it easier? How would you start to approach getting unstuck, let's say on your own? I can give you some easy tactical tips right now. Are you ready? I wonder if you have a little notebook. I should have told you, get a notebook, write some things down. First, take a little time to document what is easy and effortless for you. Where in your life do you get results that other people are impressed by? Where do people say, gosh, you're so good at that? What do people notice? What do you notice that you love to do, that's easy for you to do, that gets results quickly, that you don't have to try so hard to do? It might be a little bit hard for you to see because you might be layering on, well, it's not a vocation or it's not something people would pay for. But that's not what we're doing. We're just logging where your capabilities are. We want you to see those strengths as unique capabilities, not something everybody else has. It's worthwhile. And then you want to see, well, what is also joyous for you and energizing? They might be the same thing because often doing what we're good at gives us a sense of pleasure. But what other things give you sort of like an easy energy source? Like you don't have to try hard because you really like engaging in that activity. It could be art, it could be people, it could be organizing, it could be sports, it could be gardening, it could be music, it could be children, anything that is in that zone of delight. You want to know that about you because it's important information. They're clues to how your operating system works in an effortless way. And when you find more ways to participate and help in the zone of what's effortless and joyous for you without worrying about where it will take you or if you'll make money at it or if it makes sense, you're starting to now shake up the cage of stuckness. So right about at this moment, your brain might say all sorts of objections. Your brain might come up with all sorts of things, hesitations, reasons why not. Your brain's objections say, yeah, but you can't make a living gardening. Yeah, but that's all well and good, but it doesn't matter if I love to knit. I'm never going to make a living at it. Yeah, but collecting and collating music or having a Pinterest board doesn't make anybody a living. Yeah, but your yeah buts will sound super rational, practical. It'll be your smart brain, but it's also the part of your brain that's keeping you stuck. So we kind of want to separate these things out and just objectively and openly allow ourselves to dream a little bit and understand who we are without making it have to make sense in all the ways. Is that helpful for you? Is that uplifting for you? Okay. The last part of this training today that I want to share with you is when we're stuck and we're kind of like falling into these loops, falling into these automatic behaviors of layering on more tasks or trying to figure it out or forcing an outcome or trying to bang our way out of the cage that we feel like we're in, trying to make something happen, trying to be in action. Sometimes we get tired and our brain picks up on another unconscious way of behaving when we're stuck. And I just want to call this out because I think it'll be really helpful to you. You ready? This is about pacifying versus gratifying behaviors. For when our brain feels frustrated, demoralized, confused, overwhelmed, in pain, spending energy. We have pacifying or buffering activities versus gratifying and uplifting activities. And I want to show you the difference so that you can choose well for yourself. You ready? Pacifying or buffering means when we want to lessen the impact of something. So let's say you had a really hard interaction with your, somebody like your mom, your mother-in-law, your boss, with somebody of influence, and we don't like feeling the uncomfortable emotions that come with it. Let's say you get fired, something really dramatic that feels painful. Pacifying or buffering behavior is basically things that we do to limit the impact of the pain that we don't want to feel. We use something else to avoid feeling the uncomfortable emotions. So you might really recognize these because we all love to be pacified. We have a human brain, and we have ways that we live in a human body that likes to feel good. And so we do stuff like we use substances to make us feel better. Number two culprits are salt and sugar, right? Like the first two are like we like to eat something like a bag of Doritos or a pint of Ben and Jerry's ice cream until it's gone. That's buffering or pacifying when we don't want to feel something uncomfortable. And this is something that our brains will sometimes do when we're feeling pain or feeling dissonance or feeling stuck or feeling demoralized, is we want to feel pleasure. So we go for like the easy win, right? Alcohol is another big one. We want to numb ourselves. We'll come home from a long day at work and want to have a drink to take the edge off, right? Or we want to do happy hour with the girls because we just really want to let loose and avoid feeling something that was yucky. There's other types of binging that we sometimes indulge in that helps us lose ourselves. Like when you're binging on Netflix and you want to watch a whole series because you can just get lost in the drama of somebody else's world, or scrolling endlessly. That's buffering, getting lost in your feed. Or it's like online shopping, buying things can be a beautiful distraction, like buffering from not wanting to have to feel what is present for us to feel when we are stuck and it feels uncomfortable. And then there's all of like the overdoing it. Like sometimes we oversleep or we overwork because we don't want to feel the pain of whatever it is. Sometimes we'll just opt out and just start sleeping a lot. Sleeping can be helpful too, but sometimes it's just escapism. Overworking can be helpful if it gets you productively on task, but it can be a distortion if you're using it to avoid facing what you really feel about your job or about your responsibility or your fear of failure. Over exercising can even be an overdoing it type thing, where we overly indulge in something that might seem healthy and admirable, but if we're using it like escapism, then we're just trying to put our brain on autopilot to avoid feeling something that we don't want to feel. Does that make sense, and does that resonate for you? So instead of the buffering, pacifying behaviors, I want to show you something more productive that you can engage in so that you can help navigate out of being stuck on your own, how you can take positive action. And we talked about some of these yesterday, so there's kind of like layering on, but I think repetition helps remembering, right? So let's go through some of them. See what's going on for you and name it. That would be one way. Like notice, like I'm really demoralized in my job. This doesn't feel like something I want to do anymore, but I'm afraid to say that because I don't know what else to do. That's beautiful. That's beautiful beginning self-awareness. Notice what you're afraid of. Notice where you're timid or holding back. Name it. We're not going to try to feed our fear of it. We just want to know what it is. When we understand the pressures that we're avoiding, then we have a huge key to be able to unlock what it is that is blocking us. So I like to say, don't be afraid to name it. You're not going to fall off a cliff of despair. And also make sure that you don't fall into judgment about it. Don't make yourself bad and wrong for feeling these things. We want to actually do a bit of an inventory on our life like a journalist, like an observer. like an objective observer, like what's going on here? What's really underneath my patterns of overwork and overwhelm? What's this story I'm telling myself about needing to be a helper or not allowing myself to make money? Or what belief is in play that is holding me back and keeping me stuck? We want to gently, objectively rise those up to our awareness. You want to gently acknowledge that forcing things hasn't worked. If you're really pushing yourself to like make things happen, notice that maybe that isn't working for you if you're falling into similar habits or similar patterns. Like gently witness that there may be patterns in your life that you're participating in, maybe unconsciously, that may not be helpful. Like if you stay at a job for like 18 months to 2 years, and then you feel like you need to shift. If there's sort of like a pattern that's always happening and you're not sure why, slowly becoming aware of some of those unknown operating systems is really powerful in you getting unstuck, because it's like an eddy, it's like a swirl, it's like a whirlpool. And the way to pop out of that is by seeing the pattern it has you in its spell. Overall, you want to build your own confidence. You want to encourage yourself. You want better self-talk. You want to honor your successes. You want to list your life's achievements. You want to see all of the milestones that you've crossed in life as an accomplishment, not just graduating from college and getting a degree and having a certain job and being promoted, but also other things like where you've chosen to live, and how, if you've ever moved, and if you've had some key relationships in your life, even if they ended, all of these are milestone accomplishments. If you've cared for little people or fur babies or your aging parents, these are accomplishments you want to see as a part of how you've been in your life. You want to encourage yourself to see how very capable you are in all realms. You want to see what's already working. Make a list of everything that's already working, everything that's already going in your favor, everything that you're already easily accomplishing, not just what's missing. And when you're doing things in this zone, you'll see that your beliefs are better, your thoughts are better, your feelings about yourself are better. And that's the epicenter from where everything else is possible. When I was sharing with you all my client stories before, we were moving each of those clients into that space of their own well, their own taproot of their brilliance, their own unique, it's like putting their finger in a light socket of their own skills and beliefs and behaviors that are positive and huge leverage that they're not really taking advantage of. When you're in that zone, all of a sudden possibility erupts. We stop worrying about all the things that could go wrong and we start allowing for possibility. I know this sounds super conceptual, but literally this is how you can get unstuck. It's not hacking it out, striving it out, to-do listing it out. It's not forcing yourself. It's easier than that, but it might be in your blind spot. It's easier once you find the downstream flow energy, but it might be just beyond your conscious habit. I find a lot of gals are kind of just in an automatic, like autopilot behavior that has brought some results, but has a ceiling to it. And that's why I offer you a guide. That's what I do as a coach. I help gals when they cannot unpack all of this stuff on their own, when there's too much incoming, there's too many layers to really sift and sort, or they've been stuck for a long time and they really want to pop out and have relief. I like to say, even brain surgeons don't perform surgery on their own brains. We can't clean our own brain. We need help from a different perspective to help us see our blind spots, our triggers, our unconscious habits, our limiting beliefs, our outdated operating systems. That's what my program is here to do. All right, so I'm going to tell you about it in a minute. But I want to finish this particular training with the most inspiring of quotes, the most motivating of images that I can share with you, something that I love to ground us into. And it's this old Polynesian saying or mantra or story that Joseph Campbell, a very famous wise man that talks about in Man's Search for Meaning. He discovered this, he rediscovered it. It's an ancient saying from Polynesian culture. And it's this saying about how we are standing on a whale fishing for minnows. And what this means is man's search for meaning is like us casting our fishing line, dealing with the small fish of the ocean. Minnows are these little small fish, and that we're spending all of our energy looking for or trying to problem solve for the small fish. And all the while we're missing that we're actually standing on a whale. We're missing that while we're distracted trying to solve the problems of everyday trivial pursuits, there's this infinite treasure within us all the time. That while we're trying to realize our full potential, we're sometimes thinking of it in the wrong way. We're thinking of the smartest thing that we could possibly do, and we're missing the most obvious thing that is available to us. I love that saying. Does that resonate for you? It gives me chills. We're standing on a whale fishing for minnows. This is what I hope to bring to you. I want to tell you, if you want to go further with this, if this inspires you, but it feels a little bit diffuse or not quite in your grasp or still in your blind spot, if you know that you've been longing for change, to stop feeling the dissonance of being stuck, if you want something more, even if you can't name it, or even if you can name it, but you don't know how to get it, confidence is the key, and a program like mine is made for you. I help you deeply know, trust, and like yourself. I help you see clearly the things that are in your blind spot, both the stunning, natural, easy brilliance, your skill set, the way that you're wired, and also the conditioning that's below the surface, the limiting autopilot behavior that has you reacting in a sticky, unhelpful belief way. I help you see all of that, and that is your power. I do see it and call you forth and call you out in a most loving way. I help keep you moving when you get stuck. I help you argue with your brain's manufactured objections about what's possible. I help you explore more possibility in your life and start to dissolve and melt the big glacier of objections that maybe are placed inside your brain without you even knowing it. So a lot of my clients have what they have. They come to me with these assumptions that they think are unmovable, like where they can live or how much money they can make or what kind of job they can have or whether or not they can ask for a raise, even in this, this time when, there's a hiring freeze or where people are being laid off or we're in a recession. All of these beliefs that they have, we challenge and unlock thoughts about work and money and how we can own a bigger position without overwhelm, without overworking ourselves, with allowing ourselves to be successful in arenas that maybe we're not even tested yet. Some of my clients are trying new things like writing or investing, buying real estate, consulting, not just being an employee or finding a new job, a better job, or even keeping their big job, but with more ease. It's about being audacious and having the support and the confidence to hold a bigger space. So I sometimes say, like, our brains are like these tables of objections, and we just start knocking the table legs out from underneath until we can come into a solid, calm, centered knowing of who we are, ready to be seen, and ready to take our responsibility for our lives and not crumble, like really start to have our own back. It's a beautiful process. It's amazing. It takes shape over time. It's not just in one workshop. So if this is inspiring to you, but also feels a little elusive, that's okay. That's why you're here, is that you want to know more. I take you through step by step how we work through the lessons to build on each other so that you feel confident, in command, self-knowledgeable, self-managed, like you have your own back, like you can trust yourself, like you know more about who you are, and then you know more about how to hold yourself with challenging scenarios so that you feel unblocked and unlocked. And it's an amazing thing. We do work on beliefs and habits, and making good choices and then evaluating. We work on taking risks with support, but we also look on like regular leadership lessons. Like this week, we're talking about really difficult personalities and how to hold ourselves with people that are hostile or dominant or who are really critical. So there's really actionable things at work as well. Okay, so now I'm going to explain the elements of the program and invite you to take the next step forward, because I think that's why you're here. Okay, so there are basically 5 things that you get when you come and join Completely Confident Leadership. Number 1, you get immediate access to all my lessons immediately, forever, on demand. I have a beautiful app with all of my lessons, short bursts of content that have new paradigms, new practices, new thoughts to practice, new exercises, and you can have all of them. You can hunt and peck for exactly what you think you need anytime, but I steer you towards the first steps to take and bring you through a path. That's the first part. The second part is you join me weekly for a live coaching call to integrate those lessons. And you get the replays of those calls that you can listen to forever. The secret bonus about being in a small group coaching program is that you will witness other women like you being coached, and it will resonate for you in a different way than when you're actually having your brain being coached. It's like a synergistic opportunity to be in a small group format. It's super exciting, and the women are lovely. The third thing is, because stuff happens in real time, all of my clients have access to a free walkie-talkie app on their phone so that they can get real-time coaching from me in real time when stuff happens, when they have a conflict, when they need on-the-spot coaching, when they want real-time feedback, when they want support or guidance as they're practicing new lessons. It's what helps us really start to explode and practice lessons and own new territory. I think it's my secret weapon. Super awesome. That's the third thing. The fourth thing is we have this beautiful private community, a small Facebook group with all of my clients inside who are doing this curriculum or who have graduated from the curriculum, so that you can share and network and be part of this sisterhood with women on a similar path from all over, connecting and feeling a sense of belonging. And actually unpacking things like sharing wins and sharing challenges and getting support. It's awesome. And then the fifth thing is we kick all of this off with a special assessment that really helps you see what I've talked about, like your clear, easy gifts and strengths where you're naturally wired to succeed and being most effective, and where your hurdles are and where your unconscious beliefs might be having you react in a way that keeps you stuck or sort of manifesting similar behaviors over time that are not helpful to you. All of this starts with you getting on my calendar, girl. I want each gal that joins me to come on and come to a call with me first. Yes, you could just come to the sign up page, but I want to talk with you first and hear what's going on with you. So I'm showing you now the link to my sign up page. It's www.joleader.com/apply. It shows all the features of the program that I just explained. And at the very top, there's a button that says book a call now. It's a consult. What this allows is for me to hear what's really going on for you, what your issues are, and for you to hear from me how I might take you through a journey to successfully bridge where you are now to where you want to be, like how we get you to that spot and how my program would work. If that's something that you're excited about, then awesome, we get started right away. And if you're confused or you want questions answered, that's why we talk on a call. Okay, so I'm offering two bonuses. One is gals who have already graduated from Completely Confident Leadership are invited to be part of this alumni network, and many are active in the alumni group, which is a second call every week for advanced leadership lessons, advanced lessons of self-awareness, self-management, self-empowerment, self-soothing, emotional regulation, and managing other people. This week, we're doing interpersonal skills. We're talking a lot about how we polish even our already very adapted interpersonal skills to be even more persuasive, magnetic, and capable of doing things like asking for a raise or negotiating. That's what they're working on. So you get a little taste for what that is. When you join Completely Confident Leadership, you're welcome to join the alumni calls as well. So you get 2 calls per week. Pretty cool. And if you book a call by the end of this weekend, before Monday morning, by Sunday night of this weekend, I'm offering a very special bonus that leadership assessment that I explained, I am giving one-on-one time for each woman who signs up for a consult ahead of Sunday night, because I want to incent you to take action. I want you to be unstuck. I want you to feel motivated to take steps forward. I want to reward action takers. When I debrief your leadership assessment with you, 2 things happen. One is it awakens things so clearly for you. Yes, you could do it on your own, but when I'm able to bring the results with you and really take you through an assessment, I can show you your blind spots more clearly. I can show you your unconscious habits that are running on autopilot. I can help you see where the limiting beliefs are hiding out, where the outdated belief systems are lurking. And it helps me know you as you onboard in the program, that I know a lot about you. I know how wise you are. I know what we're going to leverage. I know where your easy strengths are. That's huge. That actual assessment alone, I sometimes do as a standalone for corporate executive one-on-one clients, and it's $1,000 just to be able to have that assessment and my debrief of it and a deep dive debrief. It's extremely valuable. It will open so much up for you. Many of my clients feel like tears of joy and relief and self-awareness kind of opening up just by doing that. So I think it's hugely valuable. Okay, let's talk about value. A lot of women really are attracted to this program, but are simultaneously worried about cost. And I know this. I know that we want to get out of a sucky, stuck place, and we want to get moving, and we want to feel empowered, but we're also often afraid to invest in ourselves. The price, the investment for a 5-month program like this is $3,000 for all of those things. One of those lessons that I just described to you, that I might give like conflict resolution to a corporate group, costs $5,000. So it's literally like 20 times the value that you get in my program. But that's actually not the important thing. The important thing is I'm able to offer it at a group rate because I gather gals together who are already well suited to be in a cohort. And we start doing this work in an iterative way. And I've been able to codify all of it in a website that you can use forever. So it's very efficient for me to offer and for you to enjoy at a price point that I think a lot of working women can work with. They just need to get over their fear of investing in themselves. Okay, so to summarize, it's lifetime access to like all of the leadership lessons that I have in a private housed domain that's both online and on app that you can take with you as you go. Twice weekly coaching with me with the regular group plus the alumni group. Real-time support with the walkie-talkie feature on your phone, the Facebook community of like-minded sisters we're all in together, and the kickoff bonus deep dive debrief with me, all for $3,000. We are getting started next month. Now is a time for you to take action not worry about what it costs to join, but think about what value you're going to get from being part of a community and learning like this so that you can feel on track, on task, unblocked, engaged, in flow, and getting the results that you want in your life, whatever those might be. We need to talk about it first. We need to know what is it that you want. So come to me at joeleader.com/apply to get on my calendar so that we can meet and discuss it. That's my favorite part actually, is actually meeting gals in this community live on a call. It's so gratifying. Connection is everything. So I look forward to seeing you soon on a consult, and tomorrow join us again, same time for our third lesson. It's all about decisiveness. If you feel hesitant, if you have a hard time making decisions, if you hold back, this lesson's going to be right up your alley. I have a dozen ways to be more decisive. So that's what I have for you to now, ladies. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye for now.